is Dr. Amarjeet Kaur. I am Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management, Gurugram University, Gurugram. I am author of about 60 research papers and have authored or edited 11 books. I am fortunate having been working about last 30 years now, which includes experience into teaching as well as into industry, and I have worked at 2 US universities as well. So it's my privilege that I am here with you to discuss on brainstorming skills. So brainstorming skills, as the name suggests, those skills which help us to brainstorm with either individuals or in team. So why is it important, that why are we discussing this skill? So basically nowadays the business complexities are increasing every day, right? The problems which managers, executives at any workplace have to solve are not simple and straight. They come from diverse disciplines, diverse areas, and the people who can solve them need to collaborate with each other because the problem belongs to many areas, more than one area or one discipline. It means brains from various disciplines, areas need to sit together and discuss the problem, right? So not only that, gradually, because of this reason that the business is becoming complex, the decision making is becoming more complex, organizations are encouraging participative decision making. They are encouraging flat organizations where everybody has right to put up their viewpoint. So all these reasons, all these in this context, if we understand the topic, brainstorming is very important. So this actually we are going to talk about the skill one should have during any brainstorming discussion. So we are going to discuss skills under various categories. So this is the background of the topic. Now if I read it for you, the slide says, teams can plan new ventures, solve problems and develop solutions when they share and build upon ideas. It is important for one to learn about the different techniques available for brainstorming, especially when working or leading a team of workplace. So this is the background. So teams can plan new ventures, or they can actually solve any problem comfortably, effectively. How? If they come and brainstorm the issue, right? So the solutions can be achieved better, can be achieved easily and more reliable if the teams, they come together and solve problems through brainstorming. So it is important for us to understand that there are many techniques which are available in brainstorming, especially when we are leading a team, means we are a team leader, or we are working in a team. Irrespective, we need to know about brainstorming, because both the leader has to lead the brainstorming exercise, whereas the team member need to participate in the brainstorming exercise, right? So both, that who is leading the team and who is actually the part of the team, they both both side of the table, they need to know about the brainstorming exercises or the techniques. Now what is the meaning of brainstorming? So brainstorming is a creative thinking technique for generating new ideas and solving problems. Brainstorming is a method which teams design and use to generate ideas or to solve clearly defined problems. So as you must have read it carefully, it is a creative thinking technique. Creative thinking in itself is a very wide area. So this is one of the technique as part of the creative thinking. So brainstorming comes under creative thinking, right? Why do we carry this creative thinking activity, which is called as brainstorming? Because we want to generate some new idea, or we want to solve some problem. So it's basically a method. It is pursued by teams, or it is designed by teams, which is used further to generate some idea or to solve some problem which has been defined clearly by the team leader, right? So it is a creative exercise in all. Moving forward, it consists of various techniques or tools that incorporate group ideation, visual aids and select individual approaches for creating solutions and idea generation at workplace. It is creativity technique to suggest ideas spontaneously in response to a prompt or opinion. So, as you must have read it carefully, it consists many techniques, right? If we want to understand the brainstorming skills in detail or in depth, so it consists many techniques or tools which are incorporated for what? To generate ideas. So we call it as group ideation, or it can be visual aids. There are many ways to have the visual aids, and it could be it could involve in visual approaches, in a particular situation, in a particular problem, in a particular city or geographical area. But the whole idea behind is that we want to create solutions, we want to generate some idea at a workplace, because I am discussing in the context of business, I am discussing in the context of workplace, right? So it suggests ideas spontaneously. Someone may prompt something that this problem is because of this. So somebody just gave an opinion, right? Now the other person will bring in his or her point of view. So something spontaneously happening, and the other persons are listening and then responding to that response, the previous response of course, and this is how the responses are actually converted into idea. So when everybody agrees, everybody says, yeah, this is something which is doable, this is something which is acceptable, this is something which will lead to solution, right? So this is how responding to some prompt, responding to some opinion, one will generate idea or one will be able to solve problem. So this is the whole process of brainstorming. Now there are 4 categories of brainstorming techniques. Number 1, analytical brainstorming techniques. Number 2, silent techniques. Number 3, collaborative techniques. Number 4, hypothetical techniques. So we shall be discussing these techniques one by one. So I am going to take up the first one, analytical brainstorming technique. As the name suggests, we are going to analyze it. So how do we define this analytical brainstorming technique? Just have a look. Analytical brainstorming techniques refer to those techniques where data is used for evaluation and analysis for brainstorming individually or in teams. So it is very clear that in brainstorming technique where we call it as analytical one, right, the first category we are discussing, it is the technique where we are using some data, right? It is just not some visual aid, some data, some numbers are used, some information is used. Data is not always numbers, mind you. Data could be some information, some point, some number as well, right? But we are using it and we are evaluating it, we are analyzing it. After assessing the pros and cons of that data, that information, the credentials of that data, credentials of that information, we further analyze it for to find out cause and effect relationship, or to find out how it is related to our problem, how it can actually help us to understand the problem better or to solve the problem better, right? So it could be used individually, one-on-one discussion can happen. 2 people are just there and brainstorming about any problem. So that is one-on-one, right, individually. Or it could be a team of 5 or 50, irrespective, depending upon the problem, the beginning. We just want to generate some idea. We do not have problem. We are just brainstorming to generate some idea, right? So it's all together. So there could be about 50, 100 people be involved in that exercise. There could not be any cap in that case. If it is an individual problem pertaining to a team, the size could be smaller. So irrespective of the size, or irrespective, either individuals are discussing or it is being discussed in team, The analytical brainstorm technique is basically where some data is used and some evaluation is done. Now I am going to discuss about the techniques which are used under this head, which is analytical brainstorming techniques. We are going to discuss 6 of them. The first is fill in the gaps technique. The second is drivers analysis, which we call as cause and effect analysis. The third is associative, which is learning relationship between ideas. The fourth is ideation of parallels. Fifth is SWOT analysis, and the sixth is mind mapping, where we use some visual tools to form a picture. So now I am going to discuss all these 6 techniques in detail, which is the part of analytical brainstorming technique. So the first one is fill in the gap. Let's say, problem is that sales are declining, production is in abundance, we cannot stop production, already the production run is going on, and raw material, labor, everything has been procured for a higher level of production or higher number of units than the expected sales. So we can have the sale is declining, production is going up, what to do, right? Or it could be sales are declining but on the same side the number of problems or number of complaints which have been made is rising, right? 2 things, number of problems reported by customers, existing customers is rising, number of problems reported by sales teams is rising, number of failures in the product or product faults is rising. It could be anything, and parallelly or the same hand the sales are declining. So we have 2 data points, 2 points to analyze, as we are discussing it under the analytical brainstorming technique, right? So we are filling the gaps. Is the declining sale because of the number of faults which are reported by clients is rising? So is there any kind of relationship? So we are trying to fill the gap. So we may go further, we will brainstorm by referring to, if available, the data of or the name of the customer who has reported, and did he buy it again or not, did he stop buying it now, right? Is it the new sale which is declining, not happening, or the existing? When we say declining means the previous sales numbers are not achieved, right? So if the previous numbers are not achieved, we may further analyze. Let's say if we were able to sell 10,000 units every month, but in that 10,000 if there was no new number, or 25% were new numbers and 75% on an average were old numbers, which means about 2,500 units were from the orders from the new customers and about 7,500 from the old customers. So 1 is to 3 ratio from old and new. So if I am analyzing the data of declining sale, I may like to see either my existing customers who were there from the last couple of months or years or cycles, are they the ones who are not buying it again, they stopped buying because of the problem reported, or is it the 25% which were the new customers, they bought it for the first time, they didn't come back, right? So the both are independent things, but what are we doing? We are filling the gap. We are analyzing data from these 2 perspectives, right? So that's what is the technique of fill in the gaps. The second technique is driver analysis. So here we see cause and effect analysis. The same example can be extended. The effect is that our sales are declining, and the data we have, the cause we are assuming is the fault reported. So we are assuming the cause as reported faults, and effect is the sales are declining. So we may simply analyze this by getting the data of those customers, right, who reported faults, reaching out to them, and then getting a report and then discussing that report in the brainstorming exercise, right? So we are trying to find out driver, which is the driver of the problem. What is the driver? What is the cause? Cause is basically the driver of the problem, right? So we are trying to find out the driver of the issue we are discussing. Which is driving? Is it simply the fault, or the economy at a large is declining, or is the purchase power of the customer has suddenly gone down? It could be because of corona, the layover happening in a particular, for example, you are supplying your product to a particular sector, and the sales are declining because there are layoffs in that sector. The IT sector, for example, is declining, and your buyers were primarily from the IT sector. It is possible. So we would be trying to analyze the driver. Is this the fault, or is this simply the declining sale is because the purchasing power is down, or the products, there are some competitors' product. So we are throwing ideas amongst ourselves, and we are trying to figure out the driver. So our focus is on the finding out the cause, reaching out to the root cause, right? The third, as I said, was associative. So here, we are trying to find out the relationship between the idea. One said one thing, now the other said something else, which actually we are trying to put both of them together. We are trying to relate. So the discussion is basically it is forming associative. So we are trying to form association between the factors, between the variables which are under discussion. So this technique is actually known as associative, because the purpose is to find out the relationship. How much is X factor related to Y? How much is Y influencing to Z? How the Z, X, Y, Z are related to each other? How X, Y, Z are related to sales? So we are trying. So our discussion is finding the relationship. Here we are not finding or trying to reach out, because in the course we are going towards one direction. We are just digging out or going deeper and deeper, the previous technique. But here we are not digging out deeper and deeper. We are rather trying to find out the relationship between the factors which are emerging during the discussion, right? So this is what is known associative analytical brainstorming. The fourth point is identification of parallels. So what is that? We know parallels, so the parallel lines are drawn, right? This is one thing which is independent then of the other thing. So we are identifying one parallel and second parallel. So declining sales and declining revenue. Revenue is an independent thing, sales are independent thing, and credit sales and cash sales, right? So we are trying to identify parallels. So what are the two things which are going parallel? Are the sales which cash as well as credit both are going down? So one is to see credit sales, another is to look at the cash sales. Are both going up or going down, or one of them? So we are comparing parallel things, right? So that is what is known as identification of parallels. If the cost is declining, is it declining for material, for labor, for overhead, or is just declining in one direction? So my whole discussion point during the brainstorming would be to draw parallels. So this is it, that there's another second line, there's third line, right? So we are trying to find out parallels in the situation. The fifth point of discussion is SWOT analysis. So SWOT we all know: strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So here whatever the situation could be, it could be used for the existing problem in discussion, right? So or it could be simply used to generate an idea. So let's take it. So somebody suggested to use a particular technique, during the discussion to solve complaints, to address complaints of customers, right? So somebody suggested something. Now, so why are we brainstorming now? So on that idea, we are finding out the strengths of that idea. So internally, how strong we are in dealing or taking up that particular technique. Weaknesses, here again we are talking about the internal. we are discussing the weaknesses we have as a business pertaining to that particular idea which has been thrown in the discussion. Opportunities and threats are always outside factors, external factors. So what are the opportunities pertaining to that idea which has been thrown for discussion? So this problem can be solved by introducing this thing. So we thought of that, do we have the enough resources, that is strength we are assessing, to prepare that solution or to introduce that solution? Do I have enough technology, enough know-how, enough engineers if required, enough production guys, operation guys to take up that solution, right? So I am assessing internal strengths. Whereas when we talk about the weaknesses, if I do this thing, what weakness, what kind of internal limitations do I have? Do I have enough supply of raw material to take up that solution? Do I have enough, or to take up that path even for that matter? Do I have enough cash, enough human resources? So here I am reviewing internally, my resources and their limitations. The opportunities, as I said, are outsider, they are external. So here we are reviewing, if we introduce that particular solution which we are discussing, or that software we are discussing, that what are the opportunities? Will I be able to grab the customers back, or which were declining, or I am able to, or I am going to grab new customers as well, or some competitor is not doing well, their sales are declining more than what our sales are affected, right? So we can simply review, is it possible to tap the customers they are losing, because customers are there in the market, either someone new will come, or the people who are existing, they are in the race, they can actually tap on it. So can we tap it? Do we have the opportunity to tap them? So that is the opportunities we are discussing. Threats, again the outsider threats. What will happen? Is it so lucrative that the others will enter into the competition or the business? Does it sound so naive to introduce this thing? How will how will the response of my existing customers? How will my suppliers respond to this? How will my financiers respond to this? So I am looking at the threats which are there from the outside world, right? Be it economic threats, be it political threats, be it stability issue, there could be anything, right? So here we are discussing, we are reviewing outside things. The last point is mind mapping. Mapping, here we are using visual tools to form a picture. So one person started with X idea, right? So idea came up, just think about this thing, right? And then the other person, so they all visualize, whosoever was discussing, was brainstorming, they visualize that this particular problem seems to be connected with this. Then what next, right? They will further visualize, because this is happening because of this thing, right? So here we are trying to create the picture. So we are trying to solve the puzzle. So this happened in north, this happened in south, this happened with product X, this happened with product Y, this was our response, this was the result of the response, this was the result of the response in X value, category, X product. So what is happening? We are putting parts of the puzzle together. Why? Because we want to form a complete picture, right? So this is known as visual tool. So you are trying to visualize what had happened. Does this factor play a role? Does that factor play a role? How will this affect the overall situation? How my picture will look if we go for this solution? How my whole picture will change if we opt for this? So we are getting answers in a broader horizon, right? So the purpose is to mind map. So mind mapping is happening between all those people who are discussing, right? So these are the techniques, 6 techniques which we discussed under the analytical brainstorming. but if you keep an eye, or if you have actually heard me well, it is clearly that everywhere, be it mind mapping, be it SWOT, we are trying to use analytical skills, right? So here we are using some data points, some information, we are analyzing it, we are evaluating it from the pros and cons point of view. Be it mind mapping, we are discussing one tool and we are then trying to create a whole picture. Be it SWOT, we are trying to create a whole picture, we are discussing the strengths, weaknesses, so everything. So this is an analytical approach where we are discussing all the aspects, because data is required for all the points. The evaluation is required for strengths. So one person talked about the strengths, another person also added to one more strength, third person also added another strength. So we have now a couple of, or a bunch of strengths, right? Same thing happens in the weaknesses. Somebody pointed out one weakness, another person added out another weaknesses. So we accumulated and then we analyzed it further. We evaluated each weakness. Is it a real weakness or is it just a discussion, right? Does it actually exist? Same is opportunity, threat. Same is when we create parallels. Same is when we give the gaps. We discuss about the gaps, or we discuss about the cause and effect analysis. So all the 6 techniques, be it associative, be it driver analysis, be it fill in the gap, everywhere we are using data or information, and the technique varies basis on what we are doing, but the ultimate purpose of all the techniques under this head is to analyze the data, analyze the situation, and then conclude or reach to the solution. Because we are doing what? We are reaching out to the solution. We are trying to generate some idea. So this is the first technique, analytical brainstorming technique. The remaining 3 techniques we shall be discussing soon. I would wish to see you with me in future in next few minutes. Thank you very much.